Hi.
How are
How are
you?
you, Zainab? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Catherine Emmett spent 15 years in the city before escaping to the country and changing career to become a children's author. Her debut picture book, King of the Swamp, is published with Simon Schuster and is a Waterstones bestseller. The Pet with Macmillan is one of her recent books. Hi, Catherine. Welcome to Studimation. Thank you so much for
Hello.
joining in today. Are you ready to answer the questions?
I am. I'm very excited to be here. And yes, I'd love to answer some questions.
That's awesome. So let's get started. What genres do you mostly write on?
So I write picture books. So these are my books, King of the Swamp and The Pet. So they're typically aimed kind of from birth, really, up to about 7 years old. But I've also started writing some books for kind of 7 to 9-year-olds, so a little bit older. But I love writing picture books because it's like an introduction to books for young children. And if you can hook them when they're small, you can get them to read all the way through, which I think is really important for children.
That's a fascinating genre. If you were not an author, what would you be?
That's a good question. Well, I used to work in a bank. When I was little, I wanted to be a vet, but I didn't want to deal with big animals and have to put my hand up their bum. So I wanted to only deal with little animals. But I think I'd probably still be in the bank if I wasn't a writer. I'd probably still be making spreadsheets in the city in a bank, probably. And this is
Wow,
much more fun. So I'm glad that I do this instead.
that's cool. Would you like to share any childhood memory?
So, I mean, I think one of the reasons why I love stories is because when I was little, my dad, who used to work away quite a lot, he used to work all around the world, really. But when he was home, he, instead of reading us bedtime stories, would come and make up stories for us. So he had characters called Higgledy Piggledy and Quick Mick and Slow Joe. And he had a whole host of stories that he would make up on the spot about these characters. And I think that probably is something that inspired my love of storytelling when I was very little.
That's interesting. With the advent of technology, we see a decline in library trends. Do you think in next couple of years, library would be a thing of the past as the paper or conventional book will be replaced by virtual libraries?
No, I think there will always be a place for children's books, especially. I think, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I think a lot of parents, whilst technology is great, enables us to do things like this, and whilst it can improve access to books, I think there's something really special about snuggling up with your child at bedtime with a real sort of paperback hard copy of a book and reading it to them. And I think it's really important for children to do that. It helps their concentration, it helps their kind of mindfulness, their downtime. And I think screens aren't really great right before bed. So having a physical contact, physically having the child on your knee and reading together is really important. And I think when kind of ebooks first came out and Kindles first came out, I had a Kindle, and I do think they're really useful. I definitely think there's a place for them, and I think they're great for going on holiday if you've got lots of books. But for me, I find it a bit frustrating. You can't flick back and forwards and go move around the book as easily, and I definitely feel more relaxed with a hard copy of a book in my hand. So I think there's definitely a place for both, but I don't think that we'll be seeing real paperback books disappearing anytime soon. I think there's too much love. And there's something I've actually got here. Actually, when I was very little, one of the first books that I used to read when I was very little, Sooty. And there's just something magical about the pages in there. And this is one of the books that I read probably when I was about your age, actually. I read this book so many times, like so many times that it fell apart nearly. But even though the pages are falling apart, there's a certain sort of magic in these books, and I think in the physical copies, in the smell and the feel of them. So I think books will be here for a long time yet, and I very much hope that they will. And I think it's great that people can access online too, but I think there's something a bit magical about opening the pages of a book for the first time.
You're absolutely right. There is no replacement for a book. If you would like to collaborate with someone, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm lucky as a picture book writer that we get to work with amazing illustrators. So I write the stories, but Ben Mansell was the illustrator for King of the Swamp, and David Tasman was the illustrator for The Pet, and I would love to do some more books with those. I've got some really exciting books coming up with another illustrator that I can't mention yet, which I'm very excited about. I love the work of David Litchfield. He does such beautiful use of colour. I'd love to work with Fred Blunt. I think his illustrations are brilliant. But yeah, there's so many amazing illustrators that I would love to work with, because they're just, the things they can do with the idea from a picture book text are amazing. So yeah, those are the guys I'd love to work with. They'd be amazing.
Such a collaboration would be a blast. Is any of your writing turned into a movie? If not, do you want your book turned into a movie?
Yes, I do want my books turned into movies. Sadly, they haven't been yet, but I would love to see it. I think King of the Swamp would make a very good animation if anyone's watching. Nice themes about saving the environment and a lovable character. But yeah, I would love to. I tend to make little stop-go animations. And actually, you mentioned you started the channel in lockdown.
Yes.
When I was in lockdown with my children, we did lots of stop-go animation on the laptop. So we'd make little figures and kind of make little films. And I do quite a lot of films for my books, because I think they're just quite fun to kind of have to put out on Twitter and social media for people to see, and see that kind of visual side to them as well. So I actually really like doing my own little animations of the books. But sadly, we haven't had the film deal yet, but there's still time, maybe.
That's awesome. I wish you achieve your goals. As an author, who are your major influences?
My major influences, whose picture books do I love? I love my friend Lou Fraser's books. She's amazing. She's got tons of books out and they're wonderful. As an author, as an adult writer, well, as an adult reader, I love Bernard Cornwell books, because I just think he makes amazing characters and they're very immersive. Yeah, they're some of my favourite authors. When I was younger, I used to love K.M. Payton and Walter Farley. They always wrote books about horses I loved when I was little. So they were some of my favourite authors. And Dr. Seuss is one of my favourite picture book authors, because his stories are just, I love the rhythm, I love the fun and the energy that they have. And they've normally got really great messages, like the Lorax and the places you go, they're brilliant.
Great choices. What qualities do you think a good author should possess?
I think persistence, because there's a lot of no's in this business. So when you start writing stories and you think you've got a great one, you get all excited that it'll get published, but quite often it doesn't. And you need to believe in yourself and not mind what other people think of your stories. You could write the best story in the world, and if it's too similar to another story that's already out there, it'll never get published. It doesn't mean it's not a brilliant story. So I think you need to believe in yourself. You need to really keep focused on what you're trying to achieve. And whilst you need to take feedback on board, you also need to just keep going and believe that actually, if you keep writing and keep trying and keep coming up with new stories, it will happen. Because the only way it won't happen is if you stop writing, and then it definitely won't happen. But if you keep writing, there's always a chance that you'll get there. And if you keep working hard, you will, definitely. So I think persistence, belief, and imagination is what I would say you would need as an author.
I think you're absolutely right. What advice would you give to the younger generation?
I would say keep reading lots of books. I think obviously it's been a difficult few years, things have been tricky, and I think that's one of the best times to read, because it's an escape from everything else that's going on, and you can always get back into your favorite worlds and see your favorite friends. Even in lockdowns, you can do that if you've got the right book. So keep reading, because I think it's very comforting. I think books can be great, bring a great comfort and a great escape in difficult times. And I think just read lots of stories to understand how stories work, and think about the characters. Why do you like those characters? What is it? What's their weakness that makes the story interesting? What features make them someone that you look up to and would like to be friends with? So I think young people, keep reading and keep writing, because it's really good for the soul, I think, to keep writing and creating or illustrating, if that's what you want to do. It's really good for you. It can make you really happy, and it can bring contentment in even the most difficult times, I think. So yeah, keep writing and keep reading, definitely.
Thank you for such a great advice. How do you see the world in post-pandemic?
I think obviously things are difficult post-pandemic, but I think the pandemic has taught us a lot of good lessons too. I think certainly in my family, we have cut down the amount of things that we do. We've started taking things a bit slower. Whilst it wasn't great being stuck at home, it was nice to have time to do things with the kids and spend time together as a family, and to rediscover. My sons took up knitting, they took up weaving, they started making things. We got back to kind of simpler pleasures a little bit, because you couldn't go out and go to the cinema and go and do fun stuff. So it was, okay, what can we do in the house? So I think that will stay with us, definitely. I think people have understood, certainly crafts and art in the home, people generally, I think everywhere, have started to re-engage with, which I think is lovely. I think neighbours have become more important. I think local communities have started to re-engage in a way that they didn't before, whether it's on the doorstep talking about what's going on or helping out local people. I think that's really important. So I think they are the main things that the pandemic has brought us. Hopefully appreciation for what we have, just the freedoms that we have, and the importance of those freedoms that we have, the joy that you can have with your family and spending time just being together, doing something quite simple. And also, yeah, thinking about crafts, thinking about what it is that you can create and how powerful that is. If you as a child can create, like my nieces make their own clothes, my son's made his own scarf, that's a powerful thing. And when you can do that, it helps you know you can accomplish anything, even if it's something quite simple. That confidence and those skills, I think, can take you a long, long way.
You're right. Are there any upcoming books?
Yeah, so there's going to be, my next book's out next year. I can't say the title yet. It's not released yet, which is a bit frustrating, but it's a story. You're kind of already doing it, really. It's about a little female character who is following her dreams, and despite what everyone else tells her, she's sure she can achieve what she wants to do, and she's going to do it. And there might also be another sporting-based book out next year, which I'm crossing fingers. We're going to get that confirmed very soon. But as soon as I do, I shall let you know, I promise.
That's cool. With that, we end our chat. Thank you so much for taking your precious time out and joining it. It was so fun talking to you. I wish you all the best for your future. Goodbye.
Thanks. It's been absolutely lovely speaking to you, and very good luck with the YouTube channel. Keep doing amazing things. Well done.